What is up, everyone? Today we are looking at the social contract theory in the second episode of our political philosophy series. Please be sure to turn on your captions if you have trouble following along, and let's get started. Let's start with Socrates, as usual. Socrates did not escape from his Athenian prison towards the end of his life. He argued with one of his students, Crito, that he had accepted the other Athenian laws, and hence it was morally unsound of him to cry foul now that he had landed into trouble. As per Socrates, if one has problems with the state, one should simply migrate. You can see that the idea of protest was not much of a thing to Socrates. I talked about Socrates just to give you a general idea as to how old the belief in social contract is. Now let us come to the first major philosopher of social contract theory. Thomas Hobbes lived during the time of English Civil War, which was being waged between the king and the parliamentarians. The king believed that he was the supreme authority over people and was inherently better than the rest of them, and that he was appointed by God himself. This belief is known as the divine right of kingship, and we'll come to this in another one of our videos. The parliamentarians, on the other hand, comprised of wealthy landlords and clergy who wanted a share in power as well. Hobbes had problems with both of them. He did not believe that the king was inherently superior to anyone else or that somehow religion dominates politics, but at the same time, he believed that there needs to be a central monarchy to have a peaceful society. Hobbes believed in a very mechanistic worldview where every behavior was the effect of a micro behavior and nothing was without a tangible physical cause. You can see the effects of the scientific revolution on Hobbes' thinking. He did not believe in anything being inherently moral or immoral and believed that the words such as hate or love were subjective tags which we as humans put up on our experiences. He was a big believer in psychological egoism, the belief that everyone is trying to work for themselves and don't care about anyone else at all. Hobbes talked of the state of nature, which is a pre-civic society civilization. Human beings are free from every rule and regulation and are seeking to maximize their profits and pleasures. Murders, rapes, and thefts are common. This is proving to be detrimental towards everyone's profits. Hence, people form a truce and let go of their right to harm each other and form an assembly which gives punishment and rewards on the basis of how well someone follows the truce. These are the two contracts of Hobbes' idea of social contract. Hobbes also believed that no matter how bad the sovereign is, it is always better than the state of nature, and hence people should not complain. Thus, Hitler would not be much of a problem to him. John Locke believed that the state of nature was made up of conjugal societies or family units rather than individuals which were governed by God's own moral code and lived in harmony. However, every time someone transgresses against another conjugal society, everything quickly devolves into chaos. There is simply no civic body to regulate punishments. Hence, representatives of conjugal societies came together and decided to forego their right to punish each other. Locke also believed that a place of land cannot be a private property until human labor has been invested into it. This was an argument being used to rip away land from Native Americans at that time since their land was mostly untilled. An important aspect of Locke's idea of social contract was the bilateral agreement. The contract takes away the power of an individual or of a family to protect himself or itself and mitigates it to the government. This leads to the creation of laws, judges to configure these laws, and also of a central authority that enforces these laws. Locke is quick to point out that if the central authority, let's say a king, dissolves legislature, does not follow the rules, fails to enforce the laws, then he puts himself in a state of nature and hence it is totally justified for the members of the society to rebel against him. Hence, people regain their right to protect themselves when the government fails to do so. A person can be a part of the society from the start when it is being formed, or he can join in later by explicit confirmation, and hence the government stays a government of consent. Now, Rousseau comes along with and criticizes private property. He believed that man was so busy in the state of nature that he barely had any time to pay attention towards others. With time being created, there was division of labor amongst families, and soon it translated into division of labor among society. Hence, there was a group of people who did not have to do any work because they owned a lot of private property. This led to the creation of upper and lower classes. The upper class knew that the lower one can revolt against it, and hence they formulated the naturalized social contract, whereby they falsely promised equality to the weak only to keep them in check. Rousseau's idea of enlightenment are clear when he talks about normative social contract, which stands on the grounds of equality. Everyone is equal, and it is just that people come together to elect representatives for themselves. These elected representatives ought to serve the individual, whereas the individual ought to serve the society. In this way, the individual and the society look after each other. There should be active effort amongst masses to pursue the common good rather than pursuing selfish interests, and this will lead to an overlap between general will and individual will. A complete overlap of the two would make the perfect society for Rousseau. He also did not believe in large democracies, for it would be much harder for the individual will to align itself with the general will if the proto democracy is spread over a large piece of area. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you liked this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe because it helps me continue what I love doing. Stay tuned for the next episode, and until then, see ya.